By your man Eric Wilson, Sports Arena, alongside my brother, Mr. Michael Carotenuto, NBC Sports Radio, 1060 The Sports Hangover in Arizona. We just wanted to jump on here real quick because we got some very interesting news today that I thought Mike and I and others should definitely start the conversation or at least talk about. Anthony Lynn actually going on record today and saying that Colin Kaepernick does fit the style of quarterback that he would want on his offense. So, I mean, I know we had a conversation, Monday night about this, Mike. I mean, what are your thoughts on someone actually coming to the plate and saying, this man fits our scheme?
I mean, I think it's good for Kaepernick, Eric, but at the same time, I mean, what's the difference in when Pete Carroll came out and said, oh, maybe we should have brought him in? I think that he definitely would fit. But to your point with the draft, I mean, Tyrod Taylor is sitting right there. This guy has won football games. I mean, when him and Shady McCoy were in Buffalo together, they just kept getting better and better. And it's like Justin Herbert, like I said, I mean, even drafting him high, he still wasn't going to start. I know that you disagreed with that a little bit on draft night, saying, why are you taking him if you say Tyrod's your guy? He can still be your guy and sit for a year. It becomes very interesting if they bring Kaepernick in. I mean, I guess, yeah, it's buzz, and he would like hearing it. His agent likes hearing it, but I mean, it's lip service. I know teams have to evaluate their rosters, and it's tough now with obviously not coming into training camp. But look, logically, he's probably better than I'd say 90% of the backups in the league. So right. I'm going to say he'd be the best backup in the league. And yes, could he start? Absolutely. I thought about the other night, we were kidding around, we were talking about the COVID with the Texans and the Cowboys, but when Jerry Jones was, throwing a tantrum in the corner about the whole Zeke suspension and everything like that, he said he was going to the few articles in Dallas saying, oh, maybe he'll bring in Colin Kaepernick, which would have been a total slap in the face to Kaepernick. But until a team does it, it's great. And, yeah, I mean, Anthony Lynn makes a great point, Eric. Okay, he's good for your system. Well, are you going to bring him in or not? Obviously people think that if he wants to play, if his head's there, I mean, it'll just depend when you get him in training camp. But if you're signing him for, pretty much next to, I get NFL terms, next to nothing, which is obviously still a lot of money, then maybe it'd be good. But until somebody does it, I would just be even more frustrated if I'm Kaepernick. Then it's okay, then sign me or don't.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Mike. I mean, at least somebody is actually stepping up to the plate and saying, because everybody, and I'm pretty sure all coaches are getting asked the question, what are your thoughts on Kaepernick? What are your thoughts on possibly bringing him in some capacity for this team? Do you think he's a fit? At least someone has taken the initiative, albeit a minority head coach, to step up and say, yeah, this guy fits our scheme. Now, my understanding is that he is being considered for the workout list, or maybe he's on the workout list, but there has been, to your point, there has been no official invitation for Kaepernick to come and try out for the Chargers. But at the very least, somebody is stepping up and saying, yes, he fits our scheme. We could use him.
Well, but Pete Carroll got bashed for the same thing in a way. I mean, it's not that he doesn't fit. That he doesn't fit Seattle's scheme, but Russell Wilson ain't going anywhere. And for Pete Carroll, when Pete Carroll said, again, I don't think you need to say anything. I agree with when people were like, well, why would you even come out and say anything? Yeah, you were talking about him. You didn't bring him in, and you view him as a starting quarterback. I mean, if Russell Wilson, knock on wood, went down, but like you said, the dude just doesn't take hits. I mean,
right.
I can't remember Russell Wilson. He played baseball. I mean, he gets sliding. He gets out of bounds quick. Russell Wilson, and I love watching Russell Wilson play, except for when it's against my team. But that being said, I know you feel the same way too, Colin.
Oh, I do. Trust me.
Yeah. But, I mean, for Pete Carroll to say, and he deserved to get crushed a little bit. I agree. But at the same time, Pete Carroll and Anthony Lynn is right. I mean, he should be on a workout list. And, Pete Carroll, I know, didn't say it, so I'm not trying to put words in Pete Carroll's mouth, Eric, but he's basically saying the same thing. Yeah, he's good enough to bring in.
Well, the difference is in 2017, Pete Carroll didn't come out and say that. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, I
Oh
think
yeah,
that's
no.
a
I
lot of
meant
the
right
reason
now.
why
Right.
people
Absolutely.
are going towards him. But at least in 2020,
Absolutely.
there is an acknowledgement
Right.
that, hey, yes, I'm not afraid to. And again, I'm not saying that Pete Carroll was afraid. I'm just saying in this day and age with everything that's going on, Anthony
Right.
Lynn is at the very least stating no matter what, he's like, yeah, I could definitely see him fitting the style of the type of quarterback
Right.
that we want on our offense. Now, again, I'm with you. I have been a big Tyrod Taylor supporter since his days in Buffalo. And even though this man continually gets trounced around the league, I'm like, oh my God, just give him an opportunity. Just let him go out there and play a full season.
Right.
You know?
I mean, you saw what they went to the. I mean, what they. You saw what he did. I mean, his first like full season with like Shady McCoy, and then even like the second season. I mean, man, that was because that was their best. And when they went to the playoffs, because what Baltimore beat Cincinnati that game, that last game of the season, like they went to the playoffs. I get that they lost, but it's like, dude, like with weapons around, he's as good as any quarterback in the league, in my opinion. I mean, his deep ball might be a teeny bit lacking, but I mean, come on. I don't have to be a homer. Dak Prescott doesn't have a great deep ball. So, I mean, it's one of those things where if you have – and that's why I thought San Diego was great. I mean, if they re-sign Melvin Gordon, you have somebody like Melvin Gordon in the backfield, San Diego went a different way. Or no, then San Diego. Now L.A. went a different way. But, yeah, I mean, Tyrod Taylor, to me, it's like another – but I still think that Kaepernick, again, he would be given a chance. I think if you bring him in, you tell him, look, you're battling for – the backup role. You will get your reps, but I mean, again, he's been out for 4 years. It's not, or 3 years. It's not about, and I still reserve the fact, I mean, is his head still there? I mean, Nike's been, I know a lot of people got upset about the ad, the giving up everything. There was a lot of memes that I saw, which again, are unfair towards Kaepernick, although some of them were actually pretty powerful. I'm not even memes.
Spot on. So,
Right. Nike was, has been footing the bill in a way. And I know Kaepernick, again, if his head's in it and he wants to play football, I know like when they had that workout in Atlanta that we talked about a little bit the other night, like he switched the place right away. He switched the place at the last minute. So like you're playing games and he just wants to send a message. Like, I get it. You shouldn't, it's not about him, cowering to the NFL, like getting a workout, but it's like, you know what? And the whole point with everything, be bigger than it and show up. Like, you're going to get a chance to get back in the league. You're only 31 years old. I mean, talk to Jim Harbaugh. I mean, Jim Harbaugh came in, of course, again, Alex Smith, who gets just, pushed around, guy that won games, like was winning games for Jim Harbaugh. And then Kaepernick comes in and just blows up. And it's like, okay, Alex Smith moves on. Kaepernick goes to a Super Bowl, back-to-back NFC championship games. And literally, if he throws the ball to the other side of the field on the breakup that Richard Sherman had on Michael Crabtree, if he throws the ball to the other side of the field, if you go back and look at the replay, Eric, the running back, I forgot who it was, is sitting there and nobody's within 8 yards of him. If he just dumps it to the running back walks in for the touchdown. Niners are going to back-to-back Super Bowls. Yeah. So, I mean, it's one of those things where don't tell me that he can't play. Now, yeah, I mean, some of his numbers kind of sort of declined after when Harbaugh left, and then.
But again, look at the coach, look at the team, look at the.
Right. No, no, absolutely. Right.
So,
like I said that Monday night. Like he had 16 touchdowns and 4 picks,
right.
And he was a little bit banged up that year. But when he came back, I mean, it was 16-4. I mean, yeah, of course, as an offensive coordinator, a head coach, you'd like a little bit better, obviously, to be getting that upper echelon of quarterback than a 4-to-1 ratio. But still, I mean, for the part of the season he played, you'll take a 4-to-1 ratio.
I agree. See, and my whole point with Cap is, if you want the opportunity and the opportunity is being presented, see, now we have some light in the situation. Now we have, okay, the next move basically, I guess, is, Cap's move, because if Anthony Lynn has officially said there is a strong consideration, and again, I don't know this to be true. I'm just going off of what I've heard and what I've seen all over social media. But if there is a strong consideration for him to be on the workout list, all right, well then, this is the opportunity. This is the moment. Are you going to jump on this moment? Because I truly believe that if he doesn't, then pretty much he needs to stick with advocating for police brutality and, systemic oppression amongst black men and cops, and just do that and move on from the NFL. Let this next chapter be in fact that, be the primary focus, for your life. But however, all that being said, if Anthony Lynn is going to go out there and say, yes, we want to give you a shot, I agree with you. I think it has to be for, okay, we are giving Tyrod the starting job. I believe in him, and we will bring you in. And if you still have the arm strength and the mobility and the capability to be a serviceable quarterback, then yes, you can come in. And if anything should happen to Tyrod, guess what? You're our guy. You're our man. And Herbert can sit for a year. He can learn from you. He can learn from Tyrod. I mean, because they also got another quarterback in the later rounds, didn't they? They got it's not Eason, was it? No. But they picked up another quarterback in the later rounds of this past draft.
Right. I know. I can see his picture and stat thing going. But yeah, no, I mean, it's and if Kaepernick wants to do that, then he should. But getting back into the NFL, Eric, I mean, he can use that. It's even a bigger platform for him if he's there. I mean, again, come back, and it's going to be pretty annoying to me how, he'll be getting that attention. I mean, what are they going to ask him? Oh, are you still going to, like, somebody, of course, going to ask that, but it's like, how do you feel now? Because, again, like I said the other night, if I'm Kaepernick and I get different situation, but there's, I mean, Barkley said it the other day. There was 80% of the players, well, actually over 90% of the players, if you go, that weren't kneeling. There was 30 out of all the players on game day NFL rosters, total of 25 to 30, I think, when I looked it up, that were kneeling. So they didn't support him then. They barely supported him. They started kneeling because, well, I'm not saying some weren't listening to him, and I'm not but Colin Kaepernick was so far ahead of it. But, I mean, we talked about a little bit on my show how childish everything got on Twitter between obviously the tweets coming out of, Washington, the president, and players going back. And then players started kneeling, but none of them once said they were kneeling to support Kaepernick. If I'm Kaepernick, that's why I wouldn't want to come play in a league, because now they're all for it. And he was so far ahead of it. And we talked about this before too. He didn't just throw money at it. He's been out to communities. I don't know how many, police stations or, officers and stuff that he's talked to, but he's been donating money in communities. He's trying to get people on a different path. So again, I applaud him for it. But if I'm Kaepernick, my theory is too, where were you guys 3 years ago? Because 90% of you, and a bunch that were still in the league. And for the guys that did, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know Eric Davis played for the Panthers the last 2 years, right?
Eric Reed,
sorry. Yeah, Eric Reed. Played for the Panthers the last 2 years. And people were saying, well, if you got talent, you get back in. Obviously, Kaepernick can play, and we know that. But if I'm Kaepernick, I mean, that would be my reservation even to going back to the league, not because of the owners, but because a lot of these players now are going to be like, oh, we're boys, but where were you last time? And like I told you, I didn't agree with him kneeling. I think he would have got just as much attention if he literally kept walking out of the locker room, because somebody's gonna be like, he's warming up, he's on the field, then he walks back into the walkway or locker room. You know how many cameras are on the starting quarterback? So he would have got just as much attention. But again, either way, he was right. So if I'm calling Kaepernick, I use the platform to use it for me, not to distract anything in the locker room, because owners are going to want to see that. Like we talked about the other night, it's a 1-year deal. So if he gets re-signed with the team, or another team says, all right, we'll bring you in, I just think it would be even smarter if a team brought him in with somebody at the end of the career. I mean, I think of the Packers, but even if Aaron plays for 3 more years, maybe that's not the spot. But if you think of, New England, I mean, come on. If look, and I'm not speaking bad of Aaron Hernandez, and if it is true, if from the documentary, if he went in there and asked for a trade and they didn't trade him, I really have no respect for the organization, because they could have got anything they wanted for Aaron Hernandez, and it. As dominant he was, especially next to Gronk. And in those first few years, I think he made Gronk look even better, because no one could cover.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, no one could cover Hernandez in the seam. So, I mean, if New England's the place, I think it would be Well, first of all, I think it'd be a perfect fit for Cam Newton. You and I are
Yes.
on that.
Yeah,
like,
we're definitely on that one.
Newton,
Yep.
sign Cam Newton first. But if they don't, then I mean, if you're Kaepernick, I use the NFL platform to go even further. And in a way, don't do it obviously as a petulant child, but just make the owners look more stupid in a way. Because yes, they just donated a ton of money, but they haven't really.
There was no acknowledgement. There's no acknowledgement. And you know what?
You can't admit, but I think a lot of it has to do, like we said, with the settlement too. So the whole not talking about it, I don't think the owners can say his name. I mean, the fact that Pete Carroll did and Anthony Lynn, you can say it in this light, but I guarantee you, Eric, because of the lawsuit, if I'm guessing with the settlement, if certain things are said, talking to people that I know that are lawyers, and again, they're like, if you sit in on any kind of these meetings, I mean, everybody has different terms, but if they like say his name in agreement with that, the NFL might have to give him like millions and millions of more dollars if they say his name. It could be a tweak like that.
My thing with that is they owe it to him. So you know what? Say is like Destiny's Child. Say my name. Say my name.
Well, right.
Hey.
But
Mike, I do have a serious question I want to ask you, and this is something a little sports related, a little not, more political. So I was doing some research, and I saw that several NFL owners have come out and put out statements with regards to what's going on. Why hasn't Jerry Jones said anything? Jerry Jones has been probably the quietest I think I have ever seen or not heard from him. So as a Cowboys fan, I have to ask you this question. Like, why has Jerry Jones been so quiet? Why has he not come out and voiced his opinion?
Well, on the not serious side, you know me, 90% of the time I want him just to stop talking.
I listen. I agree with you.
I know.
I agree.
Now, look, there's two ways. There's a few ways I look at it is you go down the road of you don't have to be first to say something. You want to be right in saying what you say. I mean, I know Ryan Clark went after him a little bit. I agree with some of what Clark is saying, but I just think that, and I saw somebody put something on. I was scrolling through comments online. It's like, well, he doesn't want to say anything until he signs Dak because then if he upsets Dak, at least I'm like, that's not Jerry Jones. Like, that's never Jerry Jones again is not going to be afraid to say anything. So that's what does shock me. It's not about coming out right away. It has been a little bit. Things have been going on every day. I just think that it is pretty surprising to me why he hasn't. So either he wants to say the really correct thing or because I think he also knows in a way, which it's an ego thing, Eric, but I mean, come on, if he's not the most powerful owner, he's one of the three most powerful owners in the league.
I will agree with you on that.
If you think about it, I mean, you can go back to the day, I mean, really quick, he bought the Cowboys. The league had a thing with Coke. He got Pepsi name branding all over it. The league had, with that, he sued just like Al Davis. It wasn't to the big level of Al Davis because it didn't go on as long, but he sued and got rights. And then he changed everything marketing-wise. I mean, and that was even, late 80s. I mean, just like, the same thing that Jordan did for basketball in the mid-80s before Converse, because it was all those guys, I mean, they were all wearing Converse shoes. And Nike
I thought they were in Adidas.
No, remember the commercial with like Bird and all them on the
Last
Dance? It was the Converse.
Yep.
It was Converse it was the only one that was officially. Now I'm not saying guys couldn't wear Adidas, but a Converse was the official shoe of the NBA. And Nike, I mean, granted, they weren't obviously as big as they are now, but they were a young company. But they said, hey, we'll write the check the whole year for you to wear your Jordans, And so when they did that. So, I mean, and Jerry Jones did the same thing for the NFL. And I mean, what he did for the Cowboys, and granted, I know there's no, state tax in Texas, but when you, like we've talked about it before, when you finance a $2 billion stadium with pretty much your own money and make it back in 5 years, like, okay, people are going to listen to you. I mean, it was his starting to push for the Raiders to go to Vegas that happened because once hockey went there, and once they all started to invest in DraftKings and all that stuff like we talked about. So, yeah, I mean, all these examples I'm giving, long story short, too late, is just it is a little surprising to me. But I also think that he is one to do his research. I mean, a lot of times they say I can't stand him. You don't become a multi-billionaire, and you and I both know this, just by like, you know, the seat of your pants making a last-minute decision. So it's not about being first to the table. It's about being, I mean, I would hope genuine and understanding. You know, I thought allegedly I heard about the time when Drew Brees had that interview, he may have made a statement, but I think or he was going to make a statement. I don't know if that's true, but then he pulled back, and the whole going back and forth. So it does surprise me, but I mean, for Ryan Clark to take a shot at him, to take a shot at him and say, you know, oh, just, you know, he's going to sit on his yacht and he's going to be rich. Like, again, giving to charity because you have all this money is one thing. I mean, there's some people that make a ton of money, Eric, that don't give to charity.
No, Mike,
I'm not saying they have to, but he should say something. I mean, you would think that he would at least, people would, but he hasn't even gone on the radio. Like, right. I mean, he's canceled pretty much everything. So again, I don't know, but I think whenever it does come out, I'm guessing, I would guess it would be. I'm never taking Jerry Jones not to be genuine. I mean, I know I say take my shots. I've never taken him not to be genuine. And, you know, I mean, what he's done for his, I mean, you talk to guys like, you know, Aikman, Smith, Irvin, and not even guys that were like, I mean, at that level, Hall of Famers, but like any guy that played for him. I mean, I've done some work with Derek Kennard out here. Well, and Derek Kennard's like, Jerry's got you. Like,
I'm glad you brought that up because Dez has called him out. And Dez was a star wide receiver for Dallas, and he has actually gone on record and called out Jerry and basically asked, hey, where are you? Mike, you understand the importance of what's going on in this country. Right. So if you are a intelligent businessman and you are worth billions of dollars, you're right. I'm not saying that you have to be first. But typically in a situation like this or something of a media, you know, focal point, Jerry Jones is usually one of the first individuals, whether his opinion is right or wrong, he is first to speak up about this. And I just think there's a lot of concern because you have guys like Arthur Blank. You have guys like Steve Biscotti from the Baltimore Ravens. Of course, you know, you have Jeffrey Lurie because I was first to be like, Jeffrey, where are you at? I was the first one to start questioning where my owner was at. You know, I'm taking care of my own house. And granted, there has been some time. Things have definitely evolved over the course of the last 3 weeks. However, one name who I guess we just expected to say something, I just find it very interesting that he has canceled all his radio things. They're not even, I mean, we haven't heard anything about Dak and his contract since this started, which I'm happy about because I'm like, you know, the focal point needs to be on what's going on in our country today. However, Jerry has said nothing.
Well, you just gave me an original idea in a way. It's about when something big's going on, how he's the first. I think he wants to be, maybe in this case, and if I just had to guess, but when he says he wants it to be big, he wants to be the only one. And again, not that obviously the conversation or the situation is going away, but he wants it on his big stage in his terms in a way, because he does, well, football wise, I'm not saying like business wise or, you know, socially conscious wise, he shoots himself in the foot, but, you know, football wise, at times he shoots himself in the foot. So if his wife, even if his wife's having a little like, hey, just take back, like, you know, we'll do this. And, you know, even if he actually listened to his, you know, son or, you know, the Cowboys PR people and, you know, I mean, I would have figured he would have said something after Roger Goodell or maybe even right before Roger Goodell, maybe to upstage a commissioner. I don't know. But I just think maybe he wants it, like you just gave me that thought, like it will be something very grand. And it could be, it might not be, but I'm just saying, like, that's what I'm thinking. Like, the spotlight's going to be on him, and he'll put a spotlight on the conversation, because when the kneeling came around with, you know, Kaepernick last time, I remember I was at the game here, in Arizona, and they all joined arms because Jerry Jones said he just didn't. His players know how he feels, and it's not that he doesn't support them. I'm paraphrasing, but his statement basically.
No,
And
he said, if you disrespect the flag, you will not play.
right.
That's what I mean. Let's
You
just
won't be on my team, right? No,
right.
but that's what I'm saying. He said that, right, and that they wouldn't be on the team. Which again, you're still, even if you release them, you're still paying them. But at that point, again, and the Cowboys locked arms, the Cardinals had locked arms. I don't think because there was a flag that took up at that game for whatever reason it was. There was a flag that would cover the whole field, and it wasn't opening week, but it was awesome because. It covered the whole field, and the players were like arm locked, and he was, on the field as players. And again, it's just, I get the pressure from the owners. And even, you remember, what was that? Villanueva from the Steelers. Who served. And then they went back to the locker room,
and
but
he
then
stood outside.
He was out. Like, the dude served. And that's what Charles Barkley, that's why I love Charles Barkley's point the other day. And again, I'm not saying that Barkley is, always right, the end all be all, but he said, if you don't kneel, it doesn't make you a bad person. Because when he was talking to, I think it was to Greeny, he said, the flag means something different for everyone. He goes, basically saying, so I'm not going to, if someone doesn't kneel, they're not disrespecting my cause. Why can't they support the cause? And it doesn't make them a bad person. It's just their personal choice, which they have a right to do. But it stands for so much more. And so when people can actually sit down. Barkley, again, we all know he's had his opinions for years. I know he got ripped in the 90s. I know you remember that too.
Oh, yes.
The Nike commercial, I am not a role model. And I love that commercial. And it's just sad that I got the whole, even though I was younger, I got the whole point of it. Like, yeah, he's not saying that because he's an athlete, he should be your role model. And he did, there were so many articles. Remember him being on whatever talk show it was, he was saying, people's parents need to be their role models. People, if their parents for some reason, he goes, everybody's got different stories, aunts, uncles, grandparents bring them up. Those should be their role models.
No, listen, I
it's
heard
so
it all.
It's so sad that he had to come out and say that, because it's like, how do you not get that?
But it's those conversations, Mike. It's those uncomfortable conversations that athletes are having because they have that platform. So like I said, I was just asking, I was just curious, you being a Cowboys fan, I definitely wanted to get your take on that.
No, Jerry needs to say something, man. Again, I just, it's not, and like we said, it's not about rushing just to be the first to say something. And again, not that he doesn't have good points, and not to harp on him more, but like Kyrie, I think alienates a lot of people.
I'm done talking about Kyrie. Kyrie,
he's a bright person.
He doesn't have a plan. He does not have a plan, Mike.
Right.
Until you come to me with a plan, I can't listen to you, man. I just can't. Kyrie Irving, no. Dwight Howard, no. They have until the 24th to figure out whether they're going to play or whether they're not going to play. So they got a week to figure it out. But unless you come to me with a plan, Kyrie, I'm not listening to you. I will watch you out there, because what you do on the court is something to truly behold. And I've had the opportunity to see him do it. And I'm like, wow, this brother has skills. He's got the handles. I've actually been in the locker room listening to him speak about, how a team needs or should play. But there he has a game plan. He has a focus.
Right.
Outside of that, I can't get behind Kyrie. I just can't.
Didn't his Instagram post from yesterday or today, yesterday, say basically it should be a players-owned NBA? So basically a succession from the owners is basically what he's saying. If you read it, it's like, okay, a players-owned NBA. Yeah, how's that going to work out?
Exactly.
Not that the owners are always right, but
no plan, Mike. Can't get no. Yeah. Kyrie equals no plan when it comes to stuff.
So I think
outside the NBA.
Opposite, Jerry does have a plan. I just think that he wants it to be big. And again, I think it's kind of dumb of him for that, but at the same time.
But we know that's Jerry. Like you said, it's his ego. We know Jerry. If Jerry wants the spotlight, which he does, he wants it all on him. He wants the entire world to be focused on him. So that way,
his message of unity to him would be this is the bright spotlight. You can, and I was talking to some friends, and everybody's had this conversation, because I think it gets frustrated, because we've all seen it about how the NFL, like obviously, like we said, just expanding on the Rooney Rule, and it came to a point where, like, yeah, you know, it's sad that it had to come to a Rooney Rule, but I can't. You're only hiring people that have hired people that, you know, look like you. And I mean, kudos to Kyle Shanahan. I mean, when he went off a few weeks ago saying, you know, having the different kind of minority coaches they have, and, you know, a woman coach that's a lesbian and stuff like that. He goes, we're all people. He's like, they get it. I mean, but you know, all sports, it's like, I've always said, like, what's the big, like, why is it that men can go coach women's hoops, but if a woman coaches man hoops, you're like, well, she can't do that.
Oh yeah,
really?
Listen, it's a double standard. We already know that.
Right?
Hey,
No.
do me a favor, stick a pin in that one. We all come back to that at a later time. I just wanted to get this one out the way, brother. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Michael Carotenuto, NBC Sports Radio, 1060 The Sports Hangover in Arizona, and of course your man Eric Wilson, Sports Arena.